Hey everybody, here's how to make your prusics work better when you're using 1.75 millimeter Dyneema line for your tarp shelter or tie-outs. So, as you guys probably know, oftentimes when you have a prusik on here, it's hard to get really good tension when you have this connected to your tarp ridge line, because oftentimes you really have to pay attention to the prusik to get it to lock up perfectly, and oftentimes once it's locked up, it'll still slip. It's like there's always this little bedding in procedure that has to be done with this thing for it to lock up nice and tight. So here's some solutions to help you with that. So with this one, it's a smaller diameter line. The problem with smaller diameter line, it's hard to splice. So the smallest I've been able to get, and still relatively easily spliceable, I got some 1.3 millimeter line. It's from Emakites. Here's the part number. And it works really good. It's 1.3 millimeter. And if you want to get something that's nice, USA made stuff, Twin Lines Technora 300 works really good too. It has like a Teflon coating though, so the first time that you set it up, it slips a little bit, but then afterwards it works really good. And this one I have right here is the Emakites 1.3 millimeter on 1.75 millimeter. So the smaller diameter prusik on a larger diameter line locks up better. It locks up a lot better than a yellow or red zinget would work. Okay, another way that you can make a prusik work better for you is use a braided nylon line. So this is a nylon line from Sergeant Knott's. It's USA made. And what's cool about this is, since it stretches, when you pull tight on this, you're elongating the strands in here. But the strands are also trying to shrink back up, so it bites this harder. And you notice, like right now, it's super loose, slides really easily, but instantly, as soon as I grab this, I don't have to get in here and do any dressing of the prusik. It instantly locks up. So like with the Dyneema prusik, it doesn't have that stretch and then squeeze action that this has. So I have to kind of go like this to get it perfectly tight at first. With this nylon line, it tightens up almost instantly, and also when I let loose of it, it doesn't jam. It tends to want to return to its original shape and spring back open a little bit when there's not weight on it. And then if you want to use 1.75 zinget or lash it on your main line as the prusik, here's a way that you can do it. So one of the ways to fix the whole slipping issue is just do a ton of wraps. Like this one here is a 7 wrap. The only problem with that is when you pack it away, oftentimes when you take it back out, it looks like this. It's like, what's going on here? And so you got to take all this time to dress it back up, squeeze the coils together, and then you can use it. And it does, with 7 wraps, it locks up really good. I've made some of these with 6 wraps, and I've got 0 slippage with 6 wraps. But the only problem is the coil with this many wraps, this little piece tends to, especially when there's not tension on the line, when you have this in your bag, this little piece can get all tangled up and weird looking. So a solution to that is, when you do a large number of wraps, add a loop to it. So with this one, I've just done a bunch of wraps, but I've put this loop up here first before I've done it. With this loop here, I can easily tidy the prusik up by going like this. So if the prusik is tangled from having a ton of wraps on it, like when I put my tarp away, if there's something going on with it, I can easily fix it by just pulling on this. And it lines the coils up nicely, and it makes the prusik bite harder, because now the prusik is biting on an effective larger diameter inner line, because you have 2 strands going through the prusik. So with this method, it locks up quicker, because instead of the coils trying to lock on the line like this, now you have a line that is going the same direction, locking like that. So you get more locking power. And since you have this little round coil right here, you have your tarp connected here, and sometimes the prusic, after you set it tight, it'll slip down a little bit, and then you have to go back and kind of adjust it and get it tight to where it seats in tight. But it's hard to do because you got to get your finger between here, or you have to grab this prusic, which is kind of hard to do. But now you have this loop, so your tarp is tied up to here, and you got a little bit of slippage, because these prusics always seem to have a little bit of initial slippage before they bite down hard. You can come back and easily stick your hand in here and tighten your tarp up and get a nice tight tension and have a nice grab place, instead of trying to fiddle around with this, and it's hard to grab, especially if you have gloves on. If it's raining or cold, it's like grabbing this is a pain in the ass. So anyways, those are just some ways to make your prusics work better for you. Overall, of these methods, my favorite one is using the same diameter line, 175 on 175, but adding this loop through, because it totally takes care of the funkiness of the prusics, how they kind of get unwound sometimes. You know, they get, like, this part gets twisted or whatever. It totally takes care of that issue, and it totally takes care of the issue of getting this thing nice and tight after your tarp is set up, because you always have this little thing to come back to and give it a little pull. And a close second would be the smaller diameter line. I think this line with 6 or 7 wraps would be perfect. But there it is. Thanks for watching, everybody.